procedures by deducting what is owed to the agency from its workers who are accused of defrauding the agency. This comes after the agency uncovered undue refunds paid to undeserving taxpayers last year. For more details on this, I'm joined by the Chief Strategic Communications, Taxpayer Education and International Relations, Yarukeekuro Ndorokaze. Stephen, good evening and welcome to the Daily Roundup.
Yes, good evening and compliments of the new year.
Thank you, same to you. To start with, help us understand where in the Income Tax Act it stipulates that an employer is eligible to deduct monies from employee salaries.
Well, it would not read the way you put it, but if you have regard to Section 91 of the Income Tax Act, that's Act 24 of 1981, it gives the power to the Namibia Revenue Agency, following the establishment of the Namibia Revenue Agency, to appoint any person who the agency believes or on facts provided has money that is due to a defaulting taxpayer. So it gives the Namibia Revenue Agency the power to appoint anybody as a third-party agent on the strength of that person having money or being money due by that person to a defaulting taxpayer. That's the basis really for the collection of money through the appointment of third-party agents. Mm-hmm. And that's the basis for it. So it doesn't refer to, and this anybody could be an employer, could be a financial institution, could also be a private person. If the Namibia Revenue Agency believes that a certain party A has got money that belongs to party B, but party B has an outstanding tax debt, it can appoint party A, and the effect would be you have money that belongs to party B to this amount or whatever the amount is, but party B has outstanding tax debt to this value. So as from the amount that is due to party B that is with you as party A, you must then pay over this amount to the Namibia Revenue Agency. That's basically what it provides for.
Explain to us, to what extent did this fraudulent activity affect the operations of NAMRA?
Okay, I'm hoping you're going to give me some time so that I can provide context to this. You would recall that towards the end of March last year, we announced that we had detected a fraudulent scheme in relation to refunds that were paid, but in particular for provisional taxpayers. And in this case, a provisional taxpayer would be an individual who has various sources of income, primarily somebody who's employed, but also has other sources of income. In these particular instances, this is really related to those that are undertaking farming activities. Mm-hmm. Now, what would normally happen is that the employer of this taxpayer would be deducting money based on what the taxpayer earns from that employment. Now, because the taxpayer has more than one sources of income, at the time that they are submitting their returns, they would have then indicating all activities, economic activities they are undertaking. What that then leads to is that on the submission of the various expenses that are allowed to be deducted, because they are expenses incurred in the production of income, when all of this is put together, it would lead to a situation where you would find that the taxpayer, on the facts provided, has actually been deducted a lot of money, and therefore a refund is due to that taxpayer because of the other economic activities where certain expenses, deductible expenses, were then incurred. Then a refund would then be due to that taxpayer. Now that's when it's operating in its normal course. However, what we have found is that in some instances, some of these people who have submitted these claims and have indicated deductions that or expenses that are deductible, the basis for which those expenses, such as your invoices and the like, were actually in some instances then forged, some not even being authentic to start with, and therefore the claims that were submitted were in some instances inflated and others not supported by documents that are authentic. And in other instances, you would also realize that people are claiming to be doing activities that are not involved in. Some were not even farmers. Some of them would have not even have registered brand numbers under their name. So on the detection of this scam, we did announce towards the end of March last year that we would be imposing a moratorium on the payment of all refunds in relation to provisional taxpayers, which we lifted towards the end of June, because by then we would have ring-fenced the number now that we were focusing on. At the time, we announced that we're looking at about 4,700 as a group that we are going to focus on. But we are happy to report at this point now that the investigation in this regard has really gone on very well, to the effect that the amount that we announced, that the amount is defrauded at the time, which we were looking at 15 million initially. We're now standing at 132 million. To date, I can also indicate that about more than 7 million has been repaid because of these initiatives that we have undertaken, and about 50 cases have been lodged with the Namibian police. As to whether this is going to lead to prosecution and possibly arrest and the like, that's within the space of the Namibian police and the Office of the Prosecutor General. But what I can indicate is that we have really received significant assistance from those that we have engaged, either the ones that we have appointed as third-party agents or those that we needed, whose assistance we needed so that we could get to the heart of this investigation. I can also indicate at this point that I don't think this finalizes or concludes the investigation. I think there are still areas that need to be covered, but significant ground has obviously been covered. So there has been a lot of ground and a lot of success that has been recorded. Now, NAMRA's intention with regards to this is really the recovery of these funds, because you would appreciate that this is money that were paid to taxpayers who were not deserving to be paid that amount had it not been from the fraudulent claims that were made. And therefore, our interest really is for the recovery of this amount. And this is really why we have relied on Section 91 of the Income Tax Act, which in any sense provides for what the recovery process should be in part.
Mr. Ndorokaze, you've answered each and every question I had prepared for you this evening. Thank you so much for your time and joining us.
Oh, thank you so much.